Whether you're here in person or joining us from afar or recording in progress, you're part of something sacred, a community devoted to awakening, connection, and remembrance. We don't gather around dogma, but around shared inquiry, shared presence, and a shared commitment to love as the highest principle. The center of love is a space of many paths and one heart. We welcome every seeker, every skeptic, every soul who senses that there's something deeper to this life and who wants to live in alignment with that truth. Our gatherings are moments to slow down, to return to stillness, and to nourish that part of ourselves that already knows we are part of something vast, intelligent, and holy. Today's reflection invites us to contemplate a bold idea that life, just as it is right here, right now, is perfect. Interesting proposition. I know that it's one that is quite challenging to stomach, depending on what's happening in your life at this moment. And so I should note that when we say perfect here, we don't mean perfect in the way that our minds might demand, flawless, neat, or painless, but perfect in its design, in its unfolding, in its mysterious and often paradoxical beauty. Einstein offered a similar invitation when he said, "There are two ways to look at life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle." And perhaps these two views are not just perspectives, they are portals. One leads to cynicism, frustration, and disconnection. The other opens the heart to reverence, awe, and humility. When we begin to see through the second lens that everything is indeed a miracle, something changes. The weeds in the sidewalk, the laughter of a child, even the ache in our own hearts, and the breath in our lungs become part of a greater perfection. Yes, my friends, even our struggles, our imperfections, our lost moments, they too belong. They teach, they reveal, they refine. What if they're not interruptions in the perfection of life, but essential threads in its fabric? The Stoics taught that nature does nothing without purpose, that the universe is ordered, purposeful, and wise beyond our understanding. What if the same could be said of your life? Not in some abstract, distant way, but right here, right now. What if everything is unfolding exactly as it must? What if you are not separate from that unfolding, but a living, breathing expression of it? These are just some of the things I anticipate James may bring up in his talk because he's the one delivering our message today. And for those of you who don't know James, he is one of our OG original founding members, been here since day one. And if you haven't heard him talk before, you're in for a treat. He mixes lots of insight with a kind of like a surprising sense of humor that he kind of springs out every once in a while. So it's always a good time when James comes here to share his truth. And so without further ado, I will invite James to do just that. Come and share your truth with us about perfection.
Setting the timer here so I'll stay on time. How much have I got? 30, 40 minutes?
Well,
Just kidding. Thanks very much, Oliver. Amazing introduction. Will you write my next speech for me? That was beautiful. Yeah, so my speech today is titled Absolutely Perfect. And Oliver touched on some of those points, that there are two ways to look at life and the universe. Nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. And because I used to look at life as the glass is half empty, that was my paradigm. I have decided to work on looking at the glass as half full. But today, we're going to look at the glass as 9/10 full. Because in fact, it really is. And what I'd like to do today is, if not convince you, then at least to encourage you to explore just how perfect everything is around you at any given moment. First, let me clarify that I do believe in a God, but I don't spell it God. My God is not the Christian God I was raised with, uh, the Michelangelo God on the Sistine Chapel, the handsome old man with the flowing hair and the flowing beard and the muscles touching man, giving man life. That's not my God. If God had a gender, God would probably be female because of the compassionate and generative energies that females carry. But no, God doesn't have a gender. I spell my God ICE, ICE, infinite creative energy, or I've just modified it recently to ICE, or ICIE, infinite creative intelligent energy. And I'd like to share with you some of my perspectives of how we see that every day in everything. I'd like to stress that I'm not looking at life with rose-colored glasses. Imperfection occurs, dark energy exists in the universe, and those are anomalies. In other words, most things are working just right, just fine. And when things mess up, it's just part of the whole. It's part of dark energy assuming its role in the nature of the universe. So let's start with, what is perfection? Hey Siri, what is the definition of perfect?
As an adjective, perfect means having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics, as good as it is possible to be. Do you want to hear the next one?
No, thank you. That was perfect. Thank you. Did you ever wonder how that happened? How she answered me so quickly, instantaneously? It's because microwaves, by the way, not radio waves, but microwaves, travel at almost the speed of light. My message went to the server. The server processed my question, found the answer, and sent it back to me instantaneously because it is, let's say for purposes, it is at the speed of light. Well, let me share something with you that's hopefully going to impress you, if not blow you away, about the speed of light. The speed of light moves at 186,000 miles per hour, per minute, per second. If I flicked on a light in 1 second, that light, if it was powerful enough, would have gone around planet Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. Our galaxy that we live in, the beautiful Milky Way galaxy, when we look up, and who gave our galaxy the name Milky Way? The next galaxy is Andromeda, which is a cool name from Greek mythology, but somebody gave our galaxy a milkshake name. Anyway, when we look up at the sky at night, we are seeing an absolute fraction of our spiral galaxy, the Milky Way, an absolute fraction of it. If this building's footprint was our spiral galaxy, the Milky Way, and you put a pinpoint over in the corner over there, a little pinpoint, that is our solar system. Our galaxy is 2 million light years across. 186,000 miles a second. 33 trillion miles a year. And our galaxy is one of the smaller ones at 2 million light years. So multiply 2 million by 33 trillion. Got your calculator?
It's unfathomable.
Thank you. That's a good word. The beauty in nature is unfathomable. It's beautiful and it's perfect. So the stars that we see, about 200 billion stars in our galaxy alone, estimated between 150 and 200 billion stars in just the Milky Way. I was watching an astrophysicist on YouTube a few days ago, and they have determined that on average, just about every star in our galaxy has got an exoplanet. Now, some will have 4 or 5, others will have 0, but the average is 1 per star average. And what they've determined is that of those exoplanets, which are just the rocky planets surrounding a star, about 40 billion of them are living in the HZ, which is the habitable zone. Okay? Excuse me. So the habitable zone around a star is the distance from a star where complex life can occur. Of the 8 planets that are in our solar system, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, of the 8, we are in the sweet spot. Perfect. We are just the right distance away from the sun to support complex life. The next planet in towards the sun is Venus, too hot. The next one out, Mars, too cold. Mercury, forget about Mercury, unless you think life could exist at plus 470 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the one closest to Earth. So we are in the HZ. But more than that, what's perfect about our planet is that it has the correct rotation. We're spinning it. Our day is 24 hours. That allows the Earth to heat up and cool down, heat up and cool down. We also have the correct orbit around the sun. Our orbit is circular, almost circular. It's slightly elliptical, but it's almost circular. Whereas if this was a sun and we were going in an elliptical orbit, you can imagine at this point it would be very close to the sun. And that's what happens to Mercury. It is on a slightly elliptical orbit, heats up like crazy. It also has an 88 Earth day. So it's one side is facing the sun for 88 days. Gets pretty hot. So we have the correct orbit. We have the correct rotation on our axis. But we also have something that protects our atmosphere. That's perfect. No other planet has that. And it's a magnetic field around our Earth. That magnetic field protects us from the solar winds and the radiation, harmful radiation from the sun. Just enough radiation comes through into and through our atmosphere to generate energy, warm us. That magnetic field, by the way, is generated by, it's hard to imagine, but what we're living on right now is just a crust on a molten ball. Our crust is only about 2 miles thick, and below us is churning hot magma. And it's that churning magma of mostly iron that generates this magnetic field around planet Earth. That magnetic field protects us from the solar winds, particularly when there's a solar flare. Harmful particles reach planet Earth, but then skip off that magnetic field. The northern lights are a very clear indication of when solar winds are distributing harmful radiation to planet Earth. But we see the northern lights up in our atmosphere because those rays are skipping off the magnetic field at our poles. So we have the right orbit, we have the right rotation, we have a beautiful magnetic field, we have an atmosphere, we have lots of water. 70% of our planet is covered in water, and we have just the right atmosphere. 21% of the air that you breathe is oxygen. Oxygen comes from trees, the photosynthetic action of green plants, but more than half of it comes from the ocean. The phytoplankton in the ocean that goes through the photosynthetic process generates oxygen, a little more than, they estimate a little more than half of all our oxygen. We can thank the ocean for that. And another beautiful mystery of our planet is we know that 21% of the air that we breathe is oxygen. Scientists don't know how Mother Earth holds it at 21%. There can be wildfires, there can be volcanoes. Humans burn 100 million barrels of fossil fuel a day, and Mother Earth holds oxygen at 21%. Doesn't move. Perfect. Because if it was 1 or 2% low, we would get dizzy. We would be experiencing hypoxia. And if it went 1 or 2% higher, we would also get dizzy as we started to absorb too much oxygen. So she's locked in at 21%. What a perfect number. Now I'm just going to digress a bit. Where would my speeches go if I didn't touch on a little bit of armchair human psychology? But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is not what the talk is about. I think it deserves a talk on its own. And it's about human nature involved with perfectionistic and perfectionism. So let's touch on that for just a couple of minutes. No, have I been speaking for 14 minutes already?
I'm not watching your every move.
Okay, I better pick it up then. All right, there's nothing wrong with attempting to be perfect or doing something perfect. Being perfectionistic simply means you have high standards, you're striving for excellence. But perfectionism, which I realized have probably been afflicted with most of my life, particularly toxic perfectionism, not a good thing. It can result in chasing unattainable goals, being highly self-critical, being critical of other people, fearing failure, and consequently fearing to start something. And there are many other traits, but another one is workaholism. So perhaps just look in yourself, or perhaps a relationship that you're in. Is perfectionism healthy perfectionism, or is a toxic perfectionism? There's nothing wrong with perfectionistic tendencies. For example, a concert pianist practices 5 or 6 hours a day so that when they appear at a concert, their 2 hour performance is perfect, not a note out of place. A pitcher attempts a perfect game by pitching a no-hitter. A hockey goalie attempts a perfect game by playing a shutout, no goals. So attempting to achieve perfection is fine as long as it's not toxic perfectionism. And I'll leave it there because I think that deserves a presentation onto its own. So I better speed things up. I'm going to take a look at a few examples here of the perfectionism and the perfect state of life the way it is in this time and place that we're in right now. Let's take a look at nature. I pointed out that the air is locked in at 21%. Perfect. Infinite creative intelligent design. Sharks, as you know, have you seen the pictures of great white sharks with their jaws open and they have these jagged, pointed teeth that are serrated? Well, have you also seen the pictures of 4 layers of teeth behind the standing tooth, laying down flat, ready to stand up quickly when that tooth gets broken off? Perfect design, intelligent design. That's not by accident. Giraffes. Giraffes have necks that are anywhere from 5 to 7 feet long, depending on the age and size of the giraffe. Have you ever thought, how does blood get pumped up to the head? And why doesn't that blood fall back down the jugular vein when the heart is in diastolic in the relaxed state? It's because nature designed 7 valves in the giraffe's neck. So when the blood pumps up, the valves close, the heart recharges, pumps, the valves open, and up goes the blood. Beautiful, perfect, infinite, creative, intelligent energy. And finally, one of my favorite is in the 1980s, a university in the United States was developing high-speed cameras, extremely high-speed cameras, the type of cameras where now you can watch a hummingbird's wings move in slow motion. So they chose a hummingbird to do their studies on. And during the filming and watching the films of a hummingbird in a closed container, extracting nectar from a flower, they noticed that there was this bulb on top of its head vibrating back and forth. So they went to the ornithologists and said, "What is this all about?" Well, the ornithologists knew what it was, but they didn't know why it was there. It's a little bulb of water on top of the hummingbird's head. And what they realized is the bulb of water is moving asynchronously with the flutter of the wings. So as the wings went forward, the bulb of water went back. As the wings went back, the bulb of water went forward. Some of you already know the reason for that. It's nature's shock absorber. That vibrating bulb of water on the head kept the hummingbird's head and beak still, so it could get right into the plant and extract the nectar. Is that infinite creative energy? It's perfect. In our bodies, we have the autonomic nervous system. We don't have to pay attention to that. Our heart rate, our breathing rate, our body temperature, our digestive system, perfectly regulated by our autonomic nervous system. And in technology, this is where it really shines today. And this is the easiest way for you to see where perfection exists on a minute by minute, hour by hour basis. Every one of you have cars. How many times have you started that car in the last 4 or 5 years? How many times has that starter worked for you? Perfectly worked for you. Your electric windows going up and down. Your air conditioning. Well, my air conditioning doesn't work. Let's not use that. that example.
Say, yeah.
Okay. But there's the anomaly. Okay. That's fine. In the kitchen, look, you turn on the taps. There's your hot water. There's your cold water. Your fridge is working. Your food is cold. The lights are going on. You know your stove temperature, so you can pull your favorite frying pan and fry your perfect fried egg. Perfection is around us so constantly and so ubiquitously, we take it for granted. We take it for granted. And if we just notice, if we just become more aware that darn near everything around us is operating perfectly, it will modify our experience with life. Ever since I started adopting this attitude of gratitude through the monitoring of what's perfect, that things are just so smooth. They're just the traffic light, it's going to change. I can honestly say perhaps twice in my life, I've sat at traffic lights that did not change. And they just, the electronics jammed and created a cluster. But ever since I started adopting this, let's look at the glass and not just half full, but that it's 90% full. And it really is. It really is. So a couple of things. One thing, at the very least, I'd like to encourage you to do is to remove from your language, from your lexicon, the phrase nothing is perfect. Because darn near everything is perfect in our lives. In the time that we live, the 21st century, in the place that we live, planet Earth, in the habitable zone of the Milky Way, darn near everything is perfect. And the other thing that I'd like to encourage you to do and explore is to put on a different lens and look at things really closely on a daily, hourly basis. It'll become a habit as you see the world around you, the things that are functioning around you are working just fine. They're working perfectly. It can be technology, it can be your cell phone, or it can be simple things like your refrigerator has been working just perfectly for the last X number of years. But what that's going to do for you is shift you into an attitude of gratitude. It will reduce your anxiety because as you see the glass as 90% full, your tendency to complain, your tendency to criticize will fall off. And consequently, it will reduce any anxiety. And I think in some cases, it'll heal some people of depression. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'll leave you with my thoughts about icy, infinite, creative, intelligent energy. And have a perfect day.